Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. Little vote, little thing happened in Congress. One of those interesting kind of moments, kind of one of the messaging kind of things that makes you go, amazing where we are. Kind of one of those glaring, flashing red light moments where you go, things are messed up. Things are badly broken. And you look to 63 Republicans in the House. You go, oh, Rick, you're always picking on the Republicans. Why are you always picking on the Republicans? Oh, why are you always picking on the Republicans? 63 House Republicans opposed a bill that simply would have honored Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg as the first two female justices on the Supreme Court. They would have gotten statues. They would have been placed in prominent locations within the Capitol complex, honoring the two women on the Supreme Court. The preference would have been somewhere near the old Supreme Court chamber of the United States Capitol, somewhere near there. Wasn't overly costly, wasn't going to break the budget, but 63 Republicans in the House absolutely opposed to it. And they're the extreme. The Boberts, the Marjorie Three Names, the Scott Perrys in my neighborhood, the Crenshaws. They're the extreme of the right. In the Senate, unanimous consent. It was a voice vote. This stuff used to be done like that. What my friend Bob Ney used to call a yawn vote. Yep, okay, yeah, get it done. Yeah. It's like naming post offices. You just, okay, whatever. It got done. The wheels go round and round. When you can't get 63 Republicans to go, yeah, Sandra Day O'Connor, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, yeah, being the first two women to break that glass ceiling, to get on the Supreme Court, yeah, it's worth a statue in the Capitol complex. Because look, there are a bunch of statues there. Okay, great. Now, could you argue that, Sandra Day O'Connor, if I were in the House, could I go, no, wait a minute, Sandra Day O'Connor, she's responsible for everything that's wrong with this country right now. And you go, what are you talking about, Rick? Well, hey, she decided Bush v. Gore. She was the fifth vote. She was the one who decided in Florida that, well, we're not going to count the votes. She was the one who decided that George Bush was going to be president. She was the one who decided, she alone, she was the one who decided that counting the votes would somehow be injurious to George W. Bush, and thus we got 8 years of Bush. And I would argue that if we counted the votes, who knows where it would have gone. I know the New York Times and some other people threw some resources and maybe did a count. We don't know what the count would have come up with. We honestly don't. But we never will. I could argue if we're going to play the what if game, could have argued 9/11 wouldn't have happened. We're a different world, completely different world with a President Gore. We don't have to go through 9/11. We don't have the great collapse in 2008. We've got national health care. We're closer to addressing our climate issues. So I could easily go, no, Sandra Day O'Connor, I can't possibly. But look, she was the first woman on the Supreme Court. That's historic. That's worthy. It's worthy of a crummy statue in the Capitol complex. But nope, not for 63 Republicans who had to stake their flag in the ground and say, no, we're not going to do that. Completely broken. And this is one of those things where you go, this is just a group of people who are the no machine. No ideas, no direction, no policy chops, no idea on how to govern. These are people who believe government is an enemy and needs to be stopped, and nothing can be done and nothing will be done. These are people who clearly tell us daily, government is bad, government can do nothing, and we're going to do nothing. These are do nothing people. And are we surprised? And understand, come November when there's another election and these people stand before us again and say, vote for us because, hey, we're going to, do X, Y, and Z. Remember, these are the do-nothings. These are the people who have no ideas. I had to get that off my chest because it just, again, another one of those things that shows just how screwed up our system has been and why these extremists need to go. Some good news today. The president signed the legislation that would make lynching a hate crime. And I'm going, we're a little late on that. Okay, great. It's now a hate crime. Good. Let's deal with all of the other things next. It's a good start. We're out of the gate. We're out of the box. Let's go. We got a lot to deal with. This is a good start. Well, we've taken the first step. This should be, I don't know, like the first step. Especially, I go back to the 2015, we did a civil rights tour where we went through, all of the southern states. And as I've said a million times, you now realize that in those states where, hey, we were really bad to black people, but hey, we've thrown up a museum. Come see just how horrible we were. And there are pictures and all kinds of stuff. And in every one of them, there are pictures of black people hanging from trees. When the anti-lynching bill would have probably been helpful? I don't know. Back then? May have been a little helpful then. But a step in the right direction. So good on the president and folks for getting that passed. It's about time. Let's get some other stuff done in that direction. Also, the big story today, another one of those moments where you go, yeah, duh. We kind of knew all this stuff. The more we're finding out about January 6th, the more that's finally kind of dribbling out. And I wish Democrats would be going, ramming this stuff out there. I wish they would be much more aggressive with this stuff and much more willing to come and talk and be much more forthcoming. According to the piece by Woodward and Costa, they actually have the phone records of Donald Trump's day in the White House on January 6th. Now, what's interesting is there's a gap in phone calls into the White House, into the Capitol switchboard of about 457 minutes. From 11:17 a.m. on January 6th until 6:54 p.m. Nothing coming in. No calls placed to or by Trump for those 457 minutes. Now, we know that he had a lot of conversations with people. He had a conversation with Jim Jordan. He had a conversation with Mark Meadows. He had a conversation with a lot of people. Not on the logs. And that's making people wonder. Gee, are these doctored logs? Did he use a burner phone? Which is why burner phones was trending on Twitter today, because evidently Donald Trump made the genius statement of saying, quote, this is the Trump quote, "I have no idea what a burner phone is. To the best of my knowledge, I have never even heard the term." And yet, in a lawsuit filed by Mary Trump and the New York Times, the term burner phone is used by him at least 3 times. And John Bolton evidently said that during his discussions with Trump, burner phone came up in several discussions. meaning he's used it pretty regularly. Again, lie when the truth would be better. But I digress. Where were the phone calls being made from? And these are questions that I think are fairly important for the January 6th committee to be hearing. And this is the kind of things that need to be pushed forward and quickly. And today, the president has asked the Justice Department to hire, I guess the Justice Department wants to hire another 131 lawyers to help with the hundreds of prosecutions from January 6th. And here's my thing. I think I said this, let's see, check the old watch, a year ago. I said, hey, how about we put more lawyers on this? How about we speed this up, expedite it a little bit, so we start throwing these bums in jail and start really getting this ball rolling so that we can go after the big criminal? Because the news yesterday was, well, the guy at the top probably committed a couple of big felonies. Yeah, we got a couple of those coming. And hey, Merrick Garland, hey, how about a little bit of movement on that front as well? Now, what's interesting is you got Mark Wayne Mullen, who's running for Senate there in Oklahoma. He is moving to expunge the former guy's first impeachment. I'm going, wait a second. Can you do that? Has there been a law passed that you could expunge an impeachment? I wonder. Never mind. But he wants to expunge the impeachment, saying that Democrats didn't prove high crimes and misdemeanors. And I'm like, hey, Mark Wayne, great time to bring up the first impeachment. Brilliant thought process here, Mark Wayne, because look what's going on in Ukraine right now. Remember the reason that Trump was impeached the first time? For trying to strong arm? Remember trying to twist Zelensky's arm to dig up dirt on Hunter Biden, and in return for that dirt, gonna give him the aid that was given by Congress to get the weapons that he needed to defend himself against Russia? Probably not the right time to bring this up. Just kind of throwing that out there, Mark Wayne. But here's the thing. The first impeachment, while I said was going to go nowhere, was the right thing to do. It was never going to pass. Everyone knew it wasn't going to pass, but you had to do it. It had to come. It had to be done. Because sometimes you have to do what's right. Sometimes you have to go and explore the crimes that are going on, even if at the time you're going to take your lumps. And look, Democrats took a beating over it. Well, you didn't win, you didn't do this. No, but you exposed the fact that this is what happened. You were on the right side of history. You were right in the moment. You were doing the right thing. And this is where I think the lesson for Democrats in this moment is, look at Clarence Thomas. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot there with Ginny Thomas, and there's a lot of shenanigans going on in that court. Right now, an impeachment inquiry into Clarence Thomas would not be a bad thing to look into. You're going to lose. You're going to lose badly. But to expose the kind of things that are going on, especially with that couple, I think is important for the moment. And I think, and I believe that by exposing the nonsense going on there, exposing the Federalist Society and all of the money that's gone into handpicking these justices and funneling money into their funds, I think you awake the American people to the reality that there are people buying our system. And look, the pressure will be there, but you've got to do what's right. Sometimes you got to ball up the little digits, and you got to get in there and throw some punches. Even though you're going to get decked, even though you're going to take a beating, sometimes you got to stand up and you got to do what's right. And I look at what they did with the first impeachment. You knew you were going to lose. You knew there was no way he was going to actually be removed from office. But you did what was right in the moment. That's important. Just my thoughts. Love to hear yours. You can give us a yell, 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. Love to hear your thoughts. You can also email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Got a lot to get to, lots to talk about. Remember, you can always download the podcast, never miss the show, never miss an episode or a thought, comment, anything. Gonna take a quick break, right back after this. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk.
We've been farming the same farm for 3 generations, and it's just always been where I've wanted to be. Any farmer you talk to in Montana will tell you that the climate is definitely changing. The weather is way more extreme. We went from the wettest year we've ever had to this year with the worst drought we've had since the 80s. We have done everything we can to keep water going, but it got close to running out. Farmers can't afford the cost of climate change. Congress has to get this done.
I've been driving buses for 5 years, and my day-to-day routine is I wake up a little earlier than most people. I get on a bus, I go out, I pick up some students and make sure they get to school nice and safe. Here in Fairbanks, Alaska, that can be a challenge because of the winter weather and the icy roads, but I love the job. So the Teamsters are great. They provide us a lot of protections. They've always taken care of their people, made sure that our jobs were secure. We didn't have to worry about whether or not we'd have a job from day to day.
And that's amazing because before we'd be working 4, 6, 8 hours a day and only earning minimum wage was real difficult to make a living. And the Teamsters pushed the law so we make something we can live off of and not have to have a second job. What absolutely gives me peace of mind, the union membership allows me to focus on this job without having to worry about whether or not my family is going to be taken care of. I'm Andrew Case, and I'm proud to be Teamsters Local 959.
So I look at what's going on in Florida, and wow, a lot of craziness going on in Florida. But Ron DeSantis has vetoed the maps. And not surprising, look, Republicans are taking the opportunity to rig the next series of elections at every opportunity. And look, this is what happens when you have absolute power. This is what happens when you give people the opportunity to rig the game. They're going to. You're going to cheat every time. It just is what it is. But DeSantis vetoed the boundaries that would draw the 28 congressional districts there in Florida. He is now, I guess, going to be calling the lawmakers back between April 19th and the 22nd for a special session because, hey, there are too many black congressional delegates. I'm not making this up. There are two the two that he's focused on, Val Demings and Al Lawson. He's ticked off. We shouldn't be protecting those black districts. No, this is his position. I'm not kidding. This is the position. What's interesting, because he's been specifically focused on the 5th Congressional District, which is Al Lawson's district, for a while. Now his map, the one, and this is one of those things where you go, again, this shouldn't be in the hands of the people who are being elected. When DeSantis gave his first thoughts on it, his maps would have given Republicans an 18 member advantage, 18 to 10 of the 28 districts. The second map he proposed would give them a 20 to 8 advantage. Right now, it's 16 of the 27. So it's 16 and 11. It's a little more balanced, even, still gerrymandered. Because understand, Trump only won the state, 51 to 48. So we're not talking about a lopsided state. This is a very close state. It could go either way. But when you start looking at how they cut and paste and how they creatively draw, this is how you come up with these maps. And look, Florida's not even as bad. I look at Ohio, where Ohio is taking a master's class on how to obstruct and delay and gerrymander and basically flip off all legal precedent and all law. Because look, they passed a constitutional amendment for their districts that there would be a commission and the commission would have this power, and that there's this whole thing that the Republicans are basically just going, nah, I don't think so. Not for us. And they're slow walking this all the way to the deadline and just hoping, you know what, hey, these are good enough. Let's do it. Let's try our maps for a year. And their congressional maps give Republicans a 13-2 advantage. So, Florida's going, wow, how'd you do that? Now understand, Trump only won Ohio, 53-47. So you're not even talking about even that big of much bigger of an advantage. But yet 13 of the 15 congressional seats would go to Republicans. What? And the Democrats aren't even asking for like a close to a 50-50 split. That's the weird part. No matter how it's looked, no matter how this map is drawn, Republicans still get the mass of the seats. But it's not enough. Always want one more. And, I look at this thing with DeSantis, and this kind of obsession, I hope, is being watched by Republican voters. This kind of fascistic, kind of authoritarian mindset. I'm hoping that some moderate Republicans in that state are paying attention. The fact that they're spending all of their time on the culture wars and all of their time attacking people. I'm hoping there's some pushback. Now, these maps are important because, I guess June is when you have to qualify for federal office there. So I guess they're going to try and slow walk this through, like Ohio is trying to do. Now, interesting in Ohio. Ohio, I guess, is in May. So the longer they wait, the longer they hold out and nobody throws them in jail. Because I'll tell you, they should be in jail by now already. I would have thrown them in jail and I would have put them all in a big jail cell and say, look, no one gets out until you do your job. That simple. But here's the thing. Let's say they do go, okay, we're going to give you the year. And they win overwhelmingly, and they have, the super duper majorities in the House and the Senate on the state level. You got the 13-2 majority on the in the congressional level. First thing they're going to do is they're going to impeach the Supreme Court justice. They're going to install their own little yes person, and it's over. And this is my problem with the Republicans pointing their finger, going, Democrats stole the election. There's no proof of that. But right before our eyes, Republicans are actively working to steal the next election before a vote's even cast. I mean, this is the important part of this. This is the reason why these maps and the drawing process has been so incredibly obscene in a lot of these states. And why we do need federal legislation and a Supreme Court that's functional. We used to have, something of a Voting Rights Act. This is why we need something of an oversight. Hello, Merrick Garland, maybe something. I know there's a lot. I know you're a busy dude. I'm hoping you're looking at Trump. I'm hoping you're going in that direction to prosecute some of those crimes. But how about a little look towards the voting stuff? How about just a little? Just a little. I'm hoping for. Just a thought. Love to hear yours. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. What do you think? You think it's possible? Think Merrick Garland's gonna do the job? I sure hope so. Love to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Quick break. Right back after this. Stick around. Listen to The Rick Smith Show.
The price of everything is going up these days. And right now, Congress has a chance to save families $500 off their utility bills by passing a clean energy plan that speeds up the nation's production of solar and wind energy. Energy that's cheaper for families and businesses. Because when there's a lot of something, it costs less. And there's a lot of sunlight and a lot of wind. Clean energy means lower cost for families. Congress, let's get it done.
Howdy-ho, folks. Howdy-ho. Howdy-ho, America and points beyond. Who has power and what are they doing with it? Politics is not a natural act.
That's right.
That's right.
I must admit, I never heard that one from you, Tom.
There's so many feisty fighters against the greedheads and boneheads. So grab a libation, join the conversation. It's the personal side of politics, and it is surprisingly tasty.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania, to the auto factories of Michigan, to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, President of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
Real quick, I look at this and, as Scott said, the reality is the Chinese have gotten away with way too much for way too long. And at some point, someone's got to hold them accountable. And this is why I think Biden is doing the right thing. I hope Congress does the right thing and passes the competition bill. I'm hoping we take this moment and rein in what has been an uncontrolled situation where we've given away generational wealth. We've given away our manufacturing base for really what amounted to a CEO addiction to short-term profit and exploitable labor and exploitable environmental regulations. It's really what it was. We made the wealth class wealthier, and we made the working class poorer. We made the working class more desperate. But Rick, we helped build the middle class in China, and that's great. It's great. Help to them. That's good. But at what expense? At what cost to us? And the anger that you see in our country right now, across the board, has everything to do with the lost prosperity of the working class. The fact that ideal that you work hard, play by the rules, get ahead, that thing that we used to believe in no longer is true for a large swath of the population. The angriest swath of the population. And then you fuel that with the outrage factory and the chaos merchants constantly feeding them the outrage candy of, well, look at someone else is getting something you're not. And all of these others are the reason your life is not as great as you were told it was going to be, without understanding that the wealth of this country was given away. We didn't lose 70,000 factories of more than 500 jobs apiece. We didn't lose them. We know exactly where those jobs are. We know exactly where that American dream went. And the reality is we got to work to fight to get it back. And policy got us here. Policy can help get us back. That's why politics matters. It's that simple. And it's that important. Love to hear your thoughts. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. I'm going to take a quick break. Right back after this. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people.
It doesn't happen like we think it does. No one rolls the tanks. No armies meet in pitched battle. It happens quietly, little by little. And because so many think it can't happen, it does happen. Little by little, the rules change. It doesn't seem shocking or sudden. And that's the point. Fewer places to vote, longer lines. Don't worry, they say. We're just improving the system. They hope we won't notice the rules are changing because they lost the last election. They hope we just won't care enough to stop them. They believe they can take America away from us, and we won't even notice. We know who they are. We know what they want. The question is, who are we? Do we let them get away with it, or do we fight? Democracy is on the ballot. Vote while your vote still counts. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Over 70 years of experience in heart and aviation, the members of the Association of Flight Attendants know the realities of the aircraft cabin better than anyone. We don't just serve drinks, we save lives. We don't just negotiate contracts, we move major policy issues like the smoking ban, no knives on planes, clean water, and safe food on board. The air we breathe matters, and we stop the spraying of poisonous pesticides. Training, rest, and no calls on planes matter as we fight fires, de-escalate conflict, revive, and breathe life. We safely usher passengers to the big business deal, the family vacation, the times of celebration, times of grief, and times of battle. We are aviation's first responders, and we are the last line of defense in aviation security. We are the first impression and the smile of aviation, connecting the people of our nations. Fly with us, partner with us, make progress with us. The Association of Flight Attendants. Stronger together, better together.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So this is one of those moments where you go, there really is no depth that the former guy won't delve into. There's no bottom to how low he'll go. There really isn't. And I used to go, yeah, there's got to be somewhere. There's got to be a bottom somewhere. There's got to be, some bit of, I don't know, some pride, some bit of, dignity, something. Evidently, he did a program on this station, Real America's Voice. I've actually never heard of this. It's a cable access channel. The program is Just the News. Evidently, he did this interview that aired on Tuesday, where he basically, is begging Putin to dig up dirt on Hunter Biden. And I'm going, wait a second. You do realize he's the bad guy in this? And you go, yeah, he knows. That's why he loves him. And why he's still, even at the rally over the weekend, still calling him smart, still effusive with praise. And yet there are people in this country who still support this degenerate. Amazing stuff. Anyway, here to share some thoughts on, well, is there a bottom to this? I've asked our good friend Trygve Olsen to come talk with us. Trygve is the principal over at Viking Strategies, also a senior advisor to the Lincoln Project. Trygve, thanks for taking time for us.
Thanks for having me back, Rick.
So I look at this.
I wish we had more interesting stuff than Donald Trump going on Wayne's World.
I guess it's a good way of describing it, but I look at this and you go, is there any depth that he won't go? I mean, look, there was, back in, 2015, 2016 going, hey, Putin, if you got those emails, send those. Okay. But right now, really?
Right. I know. Think about what if you're Zelensky, with everything that Donald Trump put you through, or the Ukrainians, right? And now you got the guy doing this, like he just won't let it go. Then it begs the question, what's there? And I kind of wonder if it isn't a distraction, right? He didn't have a very good week with some of the stuff that came out about 1-6, the phone logs, think about that, from 9:42 in the morning till 6:54 in the evening. There's no record of the president's phone calls. And yet the president, they know, was making lots of phone calls, right? So perhaps it's a distraction, but you think about what the carnage and the leadership that somebody like Zelensky is showing, and you've got this guy coming in from the peanut gallery with Putin talking points. It's nuts.
It is nuts. But again, this is one of those moments where you got to think, what if Trump was running back during the FDR era? I think you had a great tweet back then. Would he have been asking Hitler for help back then?
Right. I did have that. And in fact, it's Hillary Clinton's campaign retweeted it, and I couldn't figure out. I was in a meeting while my phone was vibrating nonstop. So it happens when the presidential campaign retweets you. But, I think the bigger point is, Rick, and this is something that every American has to decide. We face an incredibly serious moment in history. In terms of geopolitically, this may be as great a threat as what we saw going all the way back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? And And we have to decide, each of us, are we going to be serious in serious times, or are we going to fall into a whole lot of politicians that haven't been being serious? And it isn't just about Ukraine and what we face geopolitically. It's all part of the same fight. What Donald Trump is doing, what Putin's doing, it's the same battle.
Yeah. Now I'm looking at, Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut. He tweeted out today, quote, "Every day Republicans find new ways to make it as hard as possible for the United States to help Ukraine." He said Senate Republicans just blocked the confirmation of Biden's nominee to oversee the Department of Defense logistics. In other words, the transfer of weapons to Ukraine. And for your information, Republicans have no objections to the actual nominee. He is a career civil servant who is non-controversial and unquestionably qualified. They're just objecting just to make life miserable for Joe Biden. And you look at this.
Oh, go ahead.
And you look at this and you go, why? Why in this moment do you choose to block this nominee, other than for that point, just to make things more difficult for Biden?
Yeah, and I mean, then they can talk in broad generalities. I have concerns about some of the people he's nominating. I believe that's true with a number of major ambassadorships. I think that at least the last I heard, even with Ukraine, they haven't passed it's a civil servant. We have an ambassador to Ukraine, but it's not the one that was appointed. And most of these guys who end up being the ambassadors in these places are incredibly experienced individuals who have served presidents of both parties. And when these blocks get put on, they're just doing it out of spite. And again, it gets back to, the Ted Cruzes or the people who are putting these blocks on. They're not serious. They're trying to be pundits. It's about owning the other side. It's about personal ambition. It's not about policy, and it's not serious. And can you imagine this kind of stuff going on during the Cold War? I mean, with presidents of either party. Republicans weren't doing this to John Kennedy. Democrats weren't doing this to Ronald Reagan, even though they had policy disagreements with them, because it was serious times when it came to what we were seeing in terms of confronting the Soviet threat. Everybody was on team red, white, and blue. Yeah. Right now, we've got, the former president of the United States basically calling on Putin to release what he's got.
Isn't that amazing?
Even Richard Nixon would have never done that to Kennedy. Could you imagine him calling on Khrushchev to, release whatever videos the KGB had on him?
No, I couldn't. But, is there a moment that, because look, the Republican Party has gone from, Mr. Gorbachev tear down that wall to Mr. Putin is smart and a genius. I don't know how that happened to that party, but is there a moment that, because you brought up the Cold War, it looks like we're moving back toward potentially the next iteration of a Cold War as, I don't know, relations with Russia are going back to warm and fuzzy anytime soon. And certainly with China backing Russia and trying to fill the void where we're pulling out of, I don't know that that's going to go back to normal either. So interesting times do lie ahead. Will this, do you think, pull the country somewhat back to the middle of the road?
I think that depends on all of us. I mean, it depends on the people who are listening to your show, and it depends on their friends and family. And again, it gets back to, saying, the first thing we have to ask ourselves is not what party a candidate is running under, but is this a serious person who understands the issues that we face? Certainly in terms of the threat from Putin, who, is suggesting at some points, that we should be threatened with weapons that we've never experienced before. That's a direct threat. So people have to ask themselves that. I think in addition to that, every candidate running on the Republican side should be asked, who is a bigger threat to the United States, and forced to answer Vladimir Putin or Joe Biden. Because quite honestly, Donald Trump is in essence saying, which is Vladimir Putin's line, that Joe Biden is a bigger threat to the United States than Vladimir Putin. And that's just ridiculous. That demonstrates a complete lack of seriousness. And people shouldn't be under the false illusion that, when they see what's happened in Mariupol or places in Ukraine, that Putin wouldn't be more than capable or willing to do that to their hometown if he had the capacity to do it. I mean, we're lucky that we live in the most powerful country on earth as part of the most powerful alliance that Joe Biden's brought together.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with someone the other day, and I go, all those trillions of dollars we've spent since Reagan forward on Star Wars and missile defense systems, they better work. That's all I got to say. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show here with Trygve Olsen. He's a principal over at Viking Strategies, also a senior advisor to the Lincoln Project. If you want to check out the work that they do, lincolnproject.us, the website. If you're just now joining us, make sure you grab the podcast. Never miss a moment of the program. I don't know if you saw what Mitt Romney had to say. It was on CNN, and he said that NATO might have to rethink what it's doing if the former guy gets reelected. He said, quote, if he were to come back as the U.S. president, I think it would represent a pretty dramatic departure for the world, and they would have to rethink whether they can count on the United States to lead NATO, to lead other nations as they push back against China and against Russia. Do you think that's something that the American people are going to think about at some point? Because, look, had he won re-election, I think this is a whole different ball of wax.
I mean, I think had he won re-election, it might not just be the Ukraine. It could be the Baltic states or Poland or, a number of places where we gave our word. I happened to be in Vilnius, Lithuania, when President Bush came and spoke about Lithuania and the Baltic states becoming part of NATO. We gave our word to all of those countries that we were in it together with them. I will tell you that the Trump 4 years of Trump really did immense damage. And when, for me personally, having spent a ton of time in that part of the world, the point where I said I can never support Donald Trump is when he called into question whether he would honor Article 5 of NATO. That is the security underpinnings which have led to the peace and prosperity that we've seen since the end of World War II. And Donald Trump was treating it like a protection racket. The idea that, I talked to the reporter who was interviewing him, one of the reporters, they gave him 5 opportunities to walk that back. He didn't. Mitt, in some ways, I think, was overstating the obvious. If Donald Trump comes back, the irony is, if Donald Trump comes back, he will do so with a bunch of people who think they're making America great again, and they're undermining one of the cornerstones of what has made America great since the end of World War II, something from which a lot of the other parts of what have made America great are dependent upon. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a real threat. He can't be allowed back in that office.
No, but what I get from people all the time, though, Trygve, is that if Donald Trump were president, this would have never happened. And I know we can't play the what ifs, but I get it would never happen. And I go, no, I don't know that's true. I think that we would probably send a gift basket had it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a, would Putin have felt compelled to invade Ukraine, or would he have just been able to push them around knowing that there had been no backing, and Poland and the Baltic states? I mean, that security apparatus, and I wrote about this on Twitter not long ago. So having been over there and having been a part of the process of watching NATO expand and the EU expand, what people need to understand is economic security and physical security, geopolitical security, military security, borders, the two are interwoven, right? And so the EU was about all of these countries becoming economically like us, capitalist countries. The NATO part of it really was about the political stability. Your borders are going to be secure, and the two go hand in hand, and they go hand in hand with the United States.
Right.
One of the things that I end up spending a lot of my time talking about over the last year is all of the risk to business and to working folks, by extension, who work at businesses, by our political, mess that we've had. That division creates a risk, because the reason why people come to the United States, they invest money, they build businesses here, they hire people here, has traditionally been, we are a place that's politically stable. Donald Trump called all of that into question. And we're seeing the consequences of that all over the world. We're seeing it in Ukraine. I think we're seeing it with a lot of the economic stuff. We saw it with COVID. And we have certainly a lot of parts of the Republican Party who have failed a leadership test in standing up and speaking the truth in the way Mitt Romney did about NATO.
That's an excellent point. Last line of questioning I wanted to get to, because we saw reports today that Russia's, they've pledged to reduce attacks near Kyiv. They're talking about kind of pulling back a little bit. And I saw on CNN that there's some reports that they are. You buying any of this?
I think you have to. Ronald Reagan one time said to Mikhail Gorbachev, "There's an old Russian saying, trust but verify." I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, I think even with what we've seen from the Pentagon and the Ministry of Defense in the UK, both of them have kind of walked it back, that they're not seeing a lot of that at the moment. I will say it's amazing, though, how strong the Ukrainians have pushed back and have taken the fight to them. And they really should be an example for all of us about how passionately and deeply you have to fight sometimes for democracy, and that you have to stand up and speak the truth. And we have to have more Mitt Romneys, both on the Republican side and across all sides, saying the truth about what the consequences would be if Donald Trump comes back.
Excellent point. Trygve, I appreciate the time. Keep up the great work. I hope you come back and talk to us again real soon.
Yeah, anytime. And people want to see more, they can follow me on Twitter. I have a lot more stuff written up there. So
good stuff, Trygve. I appreciate the time. Good stuff. Right. Our good friend Trygve Olsen. Make sure you check out the work that he does, where he is a senior advisor to the Lincoln Project. You can check out their stuff, lincolnproject.us. We'll get links out on social media. You can take a look at that. Let's take a quick break. Right back with your thoughts. 1-866-416-RICK. 1-866-416-7425. This is The Rick Smith Show. For working people. Come to talk.
For 240 years, our union endured. But it's under challenge like never before.
We're engaged anew in a struggle between democracy and autocracy.
Can we save democracy? Overcome authoritarian movements at home and abroad? Come together to ensure the government of the people, by the people, for the people endures? We say we can.
Democracy will and must prevail.
Play your part by joining the union. The union gives Americans the tools to mobilize friends and neighbors, to amplify our voices, organize for democracy, and defeat Trumpists and authoritarians from the White House to the City Council. It matches the skills of volunteers and activists with campaigns and causes, work that must be done to protect democracy. Lincoln believed it was the sacred duty of every president to preserve the Union at all costs. We believe it's the sacred duty of every American.
Now it's up to all of us, to we the people.
Because together we will win. America will endure. The Union, all in.
Calling all builders, all welders and roofers, engineers and electricians, calling all brick masons and boilermakers, steel workers and steam fitters. Your country is calling you to rebuild America, to create a cleaner, safer, more prosperous future for all. Tackling climate change, this is the job of our lifetime. It's time to build back better. Let's get to work.
If we had more working class people in Congress, I think a lot of our problems would be better. And look, this is why I love AOC so much. And there are a lot of people, no, AOC's, no, I love AOC because she gets it. This is someone who's worked for, she's not a millionaire yet. I'm sure she'll have a book deal or two. She's going to do okay down the road. But this is somebody who knows when she came to Congress, she was worried about being able to pay the rent those first couple of months. This is someone who understands the policy, the need to get things done. I like her a lot. If we could get a bunch of her into Congress, I think we'd be in a much better place, especially when you're talking about economic policy and helping folks and helping families get by. And like I said, you look at the reality, these Wall Street bonuses, this is just nuts. In a far gone era, good socialist president, Dwight David Eisenhower, that $257,000 bonus probably would have been taxed at about 80%. So Wall Street wouldn't even have bothered. But we've got a tax code that's so boogered up and so weighted towards the wealthy and so weighted towards creating an unequal system. It's nuts. And speaking of unequal, this blew my mind today. I have been to the Buffalo Bills Stadium. Used to be Rich Stadium. I think it's still Rich Stadium. They're in Orchard Park. Beautiful place. My son and I went to go see the Broncos play there. It was fabulous. We had a great time. Loved our time there. Loved the stadium. I'm sad to see that they're going to replace it, but the news that they're going to build a $1.4 billion stadium in its place, 60,000 seats, $1.4 billion. The state of New York is going to pick up $600 million of it. Erie County is going to pick up $250 million of it. And the NFL is going to pick up $550 million of it. The billionaire owner, not going to pick up any of it. I guess they've agreed to sign a lease to use the stadium for 30 years. Which, like anything, means they could just get up and go. I'm like, why aren't they, building their own stadium? Why are we doing this? Now, understand, I understand New York cut a massive amount of funding from education recently. And you go, hold on, we have money for stadiums, but we don't have money. Hold on, let me get this straight. I want to make sure I'm getting this right. 3 days ago, they announced $800 million cut to children and family services. But they're going to spend $850 million building a football stadium. The largest investment by the state of New York in such a project ever. Does that make sense? Now, we know these kind of investments are bad for taxpayers. We know this. We know these are bad deals. I've always been a believer of, if this is what the billionaire owners want, this is what the NFL wants. They want a new stadium. They should build a new stadium. I liked the old one. Liked it a lot. But then again, I liked Cleveland Municipal Stadium. I like the new one. I like the new stadiums. They're okay. Still like the old one the best. When I took my son up to Boston, we went to see our favorite band, the Dropkick Murphys, for St. Patrick's Day. We got there early, so the venue where the concert was right across the street from Fenway. So we went and we did the Fenway tour. You want to talk about an amazing place. Built, I think, like 1913 or something. I forget what the date was. Like 1913, 1907 or something like that. Old world charm. Just an incredible place. I can't imagine wanting to tear that down. I can't imagine wanting to just shred so that we can have, more loge boxes for rich people. I mean, because that's what happened in Cleveland when they tore down Municipal Stadium. Well, we need more loge boxes for the rich people. We need more wealthy sections to accommodate the wealth class so that we can have club seats away from the rabble, away from those people. And that's what they built. And, well, this is where the money's going. Congratulations. Money taken from women and children to fund wealthy people. That's America. Wow, what a bad decision. What a horrible decision. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Make the defense. I want to hear someone defend it. Bills fans, are you in favor of it? Is this a good idea? I don't think so. Anyway, if you missed any of today's program, thericksmithshow.com, that's where you get the podcast. Did you know we got a podcast? One of the best podcasts out there. You can get it anywhere you get your podcasts. Grab ours. Tell me what you think, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you back here next time.